Good morning. Hello. How's it going? Good morning. And good afternoon, good evening to some of you. Hello, hello. I'll give people a few minutes before I start rambling again. Good morning, Christina. Hi, Alexia. How's it going? Good morning. Hi, Lori. Hi, Holly. Hi, Suzanne. Good morning, lovelies. Hi, Chantal. I just saw your message. I was going to reply. I'll get to it in a minute. Nice to see you guys. Hi, Talitha. Hi, Ria. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Jenna. I am very well. Thank you for asking. I'm all ship-shape now, thanks to Claire. Hope you all had a good sleep last night. I'll wait for a few people more to join before I start telling about the crazy shit that happened yesterday that I was just discussing in the SRT group. Anyone have any good eventful dreams last night? Good morning, Christine. Welcome. How's it going? Kombucha cheers. Ching ching. Drinking pomegranate bucha today. Yeah, I didn't sleep very well last night either, which I'll tell you guys about in a minute. Oh, man. In fact, hold on. Did I set my settings for my camera, my audio? No, I did not. Of course I didn't. Stupid. Hang on. Let me fix it. There we go. Now you guys can probably hear me better. I forgot to do that. Good morning, Jordan. Good morning, Adriana. Good morning, Jenny. So last night our TV just turned on while we were sleeping. That's very interesting, Jenny. It's not supposed to do that. Did you feel any weird vibes in the room? I doubt it was an entity. They don't usually turn on things. That's more of like a soul guide thing. But why soul guides like to disturb our sleep? Oh, the ginger one. I haven't tried that one. I'll have to check that out, Heather. Thank you. It was a very weird night. In fact, I'm going to check the flares again while people are joining the chat. Oh, there's 50 of you already. Holy cow. Hello. Let's see. I'm going to check the Schumann. Hopefully the Schumann doesn't have any weird blocky blocks like yesterday. Wait. Oh, it looks like it does. The Schumann's looked weird the last few days. Look at that. That's not normal. It looks like there's some blocks at the end there. So, as some of you have already seen, as I was talking, oh shit, yeah, there was a solid flare too. I wonder what class it was. There was an M class one. Interesting. So, well, it's 60, that's enough. So, to get this right, you guys, yesterday, if you guys were watching the podcast, as many of you were, you might notice the last half hour or so, I wasn't really acting like myself. Well, I didn't really feel like myself in the last half hour of the podcast either. I started getting heart palpitations. I started to feel kind of nauseous and sick to my stomach. And I started to feel very emotional. And I wasn't sure why. Like, I started to feel very strange at the end of the podcast with Gosha. And I started to have, like I said, heart palpitations. And it felt like I drank like 10 cups of coffee. Do you guys know what that feeling is like when you drink way too much coffee? And I started to get emotional. As you guys know, I'm pretty locked down emotionally too. And well, get this, right? No, I didn't tell Gosha what happened yet. I had a massive psychic attack during the podcast. Massive. Like, to the point where I felt like I was going to puke as soon as I got off the podcast. I had some stuff to do, some people to meet with. I canceled all my plans. I just felt really unwell. And it started to get worse. Like, I felt like my adrenaline was flowing. Like, you know how you get into a scary situation and your adrenaline will start pumping? Well, it started pumping for me during the podcast, and I didn't know why. And that heart feeling, that anxiety didn't go away. And I did. I felt really emotional, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, Claire answered that question for me because I had a fucking demon attached to me. And I didn't go anywhere yesterday. I never left my house. So it came through the podcast. I have zero doubt whatsoever. So I don't even know how to approach this. I'm going to have to message Gosha and talk to her about it and offer her some, I don't know. I don't even know, because I don't know if she's using the same kind of protection that we are. And the funny thing is, I said shield up before the podcast. I actually said that to myself out loud. All right, shield up, because I knew that there'd be a large group of people watching. So apparently me saying shield up didn't do jack shit. So I need to up my own protections and do it the hard way, apparently, because sitting down for 30 minutes in the morning, going through the grounding exercise, going through the pyramid of light exercise, going through putting on the wetsuit and wearing the invisibility cloak, I don't think my brain is ready for 30 minutes of meditation every morning doing that. It's something that I'm going to have to force myself into doing, though. Because like I said, I started feeling really unwell and really emotional and really anxious during the podcast. Like I said, my heart was pounding. Like it was pounding out of my chest. Like I drank 10 cups of coffee. Some fucker got me during the podcast. Claire said it was a level 2, so that means it was a demon. So I don't know how it got me, but I noticed I started to feel really strange in the last 30 minutes, 45 minutes of the podcast. So like I said, I don't even know what came over me. And you know what else is funny too? I mentioned getting fired. I wasn't going to do that. In fact, I actually said to myself like 3 times, do not mention it. Do not mention it. Do not mention it. I was trying to keep myself focused on positivity during that podcast. And all that went out the fucking window. I don't even know why. Like all of these things just started coming out of me and I couldn't stop it. Like all of these things just, anyway. My rambling and my venting went a little more than I expected it to. For most of my podcast, I just wanted to be a silent observer. I wanted to hear what she had to say. And instead, I started getting emotional and rambling. And that's why I started beating myself up after the podcast. I started really giving myself shit. Like, oh, you could have done that so much better. You got emotional. You were supposed to stay calm. You were supposed to. And I started, like I said, beating myself up really badly. I actually made myself depressed thinking how much I did a shitty job because I got emotional and started talking about irrelevant stuff that I literally told myself I was not going to talk about. And it came out of me anyway. So I got mad at myself going, what the fuck is wrong with you? So then, yeah, I found out it wasn't me. It was something that was attached to me. And it freaked me out even more because, I don't know why, but I've always assumed that I need to leave the house in order to pick something up. So that thing came through the screen yesterday. And I know people have said they can do that. I haven't personally experienced it until yesterday. So holy shit, you guys. It was intense. I got really emotionally distraught last night. The anxiety was through the roof. So I'm so glad that I messaged Claire. I tried to clear it myself too. I actually, I felt that something wasn't right. So I called in my guides and I was like, there's something not right. Please get rid of it. Whatever it is. I thought it was an earthbound. I just knew something wasn't right though. And I even said it to my friends last night, to a few people where I was like, there's something that's really not okay right now. And I haven't felt right since the podcast. And sure enough, yeah, I did have an attachment. So I did ask, I was like, what the fuck to my soul guides? Like, why didn't you guys clear it? Like, why didn't you protect me? I said, shield up, damn it. That was my attitude this morning. But Claire explained to me, she's like, if you had cleared it, then when I checked you this morning, you would have had no validation because it would have been already gone by the time I checked it. So apparently they didn't clear it. So that way I would have the validation that I truly did have an attachment last night. And it was weird too, because I woke up right before Claire messaged me with a really bad coughing fit. I woke up in the middle of the night, just coughing my lungs up, feeling awful. And then I went back to sleep. And then I checked later on, because I did check and see what time it was. It was about I forget what time exactly now. But I remember now this morning I looked back and I was like, holy shit, it was the same time that Claire cleared me. So, yeah, apparently I coughed that fucker up. So, but it did give me a chance to notice when something was wrong. Because, when you get used to your own energy, you can start picking up on something that doesn't feel right, and that's exactly what happened to me. Like I said, I knew immediately that there was something wrong. So it was kind of, apparently, according to what Claire asked my guides about, it was one of those experiences that Andy got, kind of, when he went and, it's like you think you're protected and you're not. Well, I didn't do the whole 20-30 minute guided meditation. I thought saying shield up would do it. No, not for demons anyway. Maybe that works for other people or for low level stuff, but yeah, like I said, it got me good yesterday. I felt like a completely different person. I felt really anxious and just awful. So I'm so glad that I messaged Claire, because I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast this morning. Considering how I felt last night, I would have canceled today. I just felt that terrible. And that negative, I felt really like I did a terrible, terrible job on my podcast yesterday. I beat myself up so bad last night over it. But now all those thoughts are gone. So that was not me. It was not me. And I don't normally beat myself up for these things. I'm very much I did my best, whatever. Like that's normally how I feel about stuff. Like, fuck it. I did my best as I could. I don't usually dwell on stuff later on. So for me to be dwelling on it all night long, I was like, there's something really just preying on me right now. And sure enough, Chantel says, I'm in the big games now, girl. Well, as I was saying on this post, I was out running errands, not yesterday, the day before yesterday. I was out running errands and I stopped to have some lunch, and I'm sitting in my car eating, and my car locked itself. As I was thinking about a particularly tough case that we were working on, it's actually our hardest case yet that we've been getting. And no, actually, Cindy, don't worry. I already had a chat with her afterward. It's all good. In fact, she keep in mind that our chat with Gosha last night was happening until after 11 o'clock her time. She was exhausted too. So it was a very late talk for Gosha. She was squeezing us into her very busy schedule. That's why it wasn't at 10 o'clock like it normally was, why it had to be 4 hours later. She's a very busy person. So that's why, yeah, I was nervous at first because I knew the Federation and the Tigetans were watching. That's the only reason why I was nervous. No, I'm not. Thank you very much, Karsten, for saying that. I do feel better today. That was all the entity. I feel 100% today. I feel very positive. I feel like I did a good job. That's why I know it was that entity. It was trying to get me to beat myself up. And it did. It worked. I did beat myself up for a few hours. This is the thing. You don't realize when it's your thoughts versus somebody else's thoughts. It always feels like your thoughts. So when you think something, you're like, oh, why would I say that to myself? This is what I mean. We need to start dissecting our thoughts better and wondering, okay, why did I have that thought? And it definitely felt like it was adrenaline. You know how it felt? You guys know the podcast I did after the day I got fired? Remember that podcast? That was the most emotional fucking day I've had in 10 years, probably. I think I was dealing with a psychic attack when I got fired. I'm almost positive, because exactly how I felt when I was doing that podcast, talking to you guys about what I was going through, I almost guarantee I had an attachment then. Because, I mean, like I said, I felt the exact same yesterday that I did then. So it is like this way of, you have to kind of really get used to your own energy. And when you feel something isn't right, you have to listen to it. Maybe start the podcast off with a quick intention for protection. Yeah, there was a couple people who were watching the podcast yesterday that said they also started to feel strange towards the end. So I'm not sure if even you guys were susceptible to the attachments yesterday during the podcast, which is also another big concern. I don't want to get you guys anything either. So Maybe we should be doing these protections before podcasts, you know? Shit. But yeah, we're all just kind of learning as we go, you know? And yeah, I was kind of ticked off, Tony, but that's it. I had no reason to understand why either. So, like I said, if you start feeling something emotionally and you don't understand why, there is a reason. We just didn't figure it out. So, this is why I say, you know, there was somebody in the group a minute ago that was like, you talk about protection too much. He said he thought I was in a fear-based mindset because I was talking about protection. But honestly, I feel like this is something that is just as important as deciding what clothes to wear as we leave the house. You know how we look at the weather and we make a plan. We're like, okay, we really, you know, today the weather may be kind of sketchy. I need to prepare myself in this way. I feel like that's kind of what protection is. It's street smarts, really. It's just spiritual street smarts. It's knowing, you know, when you need extra oomph behind you when you're going into a really shady spot. And I didn't realize that, you know, talking about the Federation reptilians and all of these things would leave me susceptible. I figured, you know, you would have to kind of be in a vicinity of them to pick them up. I didn't realize that they could just be like, oh, you're talking about me? Hey, what's up? So that's good to know. So yeah, that is the mission for the year, Bree. Bree says, I agree, and taking care of ourselves too, eating better foods. Yes, exactly. Who else attacks them back? I use shields and armor and weapons that shoot displacement rounds that burn and push them out of my energy field. Go, Gary. You get him, Gary. That sounds awesome. Yeah, you can fight them back. This is the thing, you know, demons are thought forms. This is somebody else's thought form, but still, it was a thought form. Thought forms can be dissolved. They can be destroyed. It's why, you know, the level 3s are the ones that we struggle with the most, the ETs, because we can't destroy an ET. Soul guides can't just blow up an ET if they want to. It doesn't work that way. They can't take a life. So that's why the level 3s are so problematic, and why I think many of them just keep coming back. You know, you clear them and they're like, oh, I'll be back, bitch. You know, like this is why some of our cases, almost all of our 20% cases that are dealing with these things are dealing with level 2s and 3s. They're not repeat low level earthbounds and shit. It's always the very powerful, strong stuff that keeps coming back. Mostly level 3s. This is why some of my cases that I've been doing, if you had a level 3, I actually have been going back and doing multiple checks to make sure it didn't come back. So I've been actually keeping track of who has level 3s, so I can go back and check again. Because I feel it's important. You know, it's one clearing sometimes isn't enough. And we're also noticing with some of our tougher cases that we get retaliation from the entities when we clear them. Because, you know, there's a particularly tough case that we've been working on. This is what I was talking about with Aaron the other day that I couldn't talk about because as soon as we started talking about it, the internet started getting all wonky. But this particularly tough case is involving a level 3. And like I said, every time we check this person, there's more attachments. Every single time. And it used to be that they would be clear for like 24 hours. They would have 24 hours of sovereignty and then 12 hours and then 5 hours. And now it's like 10 minutes. Fuckers. So it's like they're aware that we're doing the clearings and they're revamping, you know what I mean? It's like they're upping their game when we're upping our game, and it's like this shit. It's like having a tug of war match with a bunch of ETs, and it's just, oh my god, it's rough. An ET can be destroyed with love. I wouldn't go that far, Charles. No. Sometimes you just piss them off with love. Speaking from experience. I'm talking about Damien. Project love at Damien and see what happens. You just piss him off. You're going to grow into a formidable SRT force to be reckoned with. Thank you, Chantal. You're very sweet, honey. I'm gonna have to get more, I'm gonna have to get beefed up for this work, clearly. But this is also why, and going back to what Bree said, we really do need to focus on our bodies. Because if your body is in prime condition, then your mind is in better condition too. So it is one of those things where, the stronger your body, the stronger the mind. So we really do need to do extra grounding. Thank you, Carla. Absolutely agree with that. Extra grounding is very important. I did not feel grounded at all yesterday. I know what being grounded feels because yesterday, you ever feel like you've been fasting, like you haven't eaten in like all day long and your legs start getting wobbly. That's what I was feeling yesterday, even though I did eat something. So it was that must be what being ungrounded feels like. So who knows? Why would one person be more susceptible than another? Usually it's because of your frequency. You have to be a vibrational match. This is another reason why keeping your vibration high, having a healthy body will help to do that. And it makes it easier for you to connect to your soul guides and all these other higher vibe beings that are around us at all times. But if you're not high vibe, it makes it harder to perceive what they're sending out. So really, it's all about being a vibrational match. Because if you're a vibrational match to these beings, they can attach to you. But if you're not a vibrational match, they can't attach to you, which means they usually end up going for somebody around you, one of your less protected family members or friends, or somebody that drinks alcohol. That's a good one, Chi. Exactly. Yes, alcohol is another one. People that drink are much more susceptible. It's why they call it spirits, really. Yes, you can get protection tattoos, Charles. That they do work. I'm probably going to get one myself, actually. We need a spiritual weight loss group. I'm actually just giving up carbs. That's something my mom lost 80 pounds doing keto. And I realize that she's probably doing it the less healthy way by eating things that are like fake breads and stuff that don't have any carbs in them. But really, it just boils down to eating vegetables and fruit and other healthy things. We know what's healthy and what's not. If it comes out of a bag or a box, it's probably not healthy, Everything in moderation, Chantal. Chantal's having a sip of wine. But yeah, it is true though. The alcohol does leave you with holes in your field. But even caffeine can do that. So, like somebody who drinks alcohol 3 times a week versus somebody who drinks coffee all day long, the person who drinks alcohol may actually have a better field than the person who's a coffee addict. So that's the problem, is that there are people that don't even realize they're doing damage to their auric field. Painkillers, sleeping tablets, all kinds of stuff. So smoking weed is a powerful tool if you know how to use it. Don't we know that? But that's another problem, is also smoking cannabis will put holes in your auric field. Smoking anything will put holes in your auric field. So I'm actually going to probably get into edibles soon, actually. Start making some bang like Shiva. It really does feel good to be off medication, too. I got off of mine thanks to my psychic surgery with Jono. I was on, what was that stuff called? For the fibroids. And sure enough, after those 3 psychic surgeries and Jono cleared all of that for my fibroids, I've stopped the medication and it didn't come back either. So, yay. I thought to myself, if I keep taking the medication, then obviously, I'm still telling my body that I'm sick. So I stopped, and I was really worried actually for a little bit there that it would come back, but it hasn't. So yay. It's working. I want to know more about sleeping tablets. I am an insomniac and must take some nights. I don't know if you were around for the previous podcast. I was talking about how I cleared my ex like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, because he messaged me on the first day of Mercury retrograde. I haven't heard from him in months. And the first day of Mercury retrograde, he messaged me going, hey, can we be friends? Blah, blah, blah. Can we hang out? And I thought about it for a minute. I thought maybe I'll consider it. I don't know. but something just told me not to hang out with him. I was like, nope, not a good idea. So sure enough, the reason I'm telling this story is I did a clearing on him just to be sure. He had 32 earthbounds attached to him. He also had a whole bunch of portals in his house. He had like 7 portals in his house. And I was like, what the hell? How is this possible? So I asked his soul guides what was happening. It's the fucking sleeping tablets that he's taking. He takes sleeping tablets every single night to go to sleep. And it was because, and I asked, they're like, well, he's putting himself into an altered state of consciousness every night. That's what they said, quote unquote. And I was like, how is he doing that? Like putting himself into an altered state of consciousness. I don't understand. And they're like, well, he's opening portals and he's going into these portals and he's bringing beings with him from these portals. So his house was full of stuff. And I was like, what the hell? I think that might be a record. I don't think I can remember 32 earthbounds on somebody. I don't know how he was actually staying sane with 32 earthbounds on him. Because that one lady, for example, that had the 20 ETs attached to her, she was like eating dirt and shit. She was like completely gone, didn't even know who she was, completely lost her shit. Like she was eating random things like that is not food because I don't even know why. Like I said, she had 20 deceased ETs attached to her. So if you think about, maybe it's because they were ETs that it was worse for her. But if you think about it, 32 earthbounds, holy shit. I was so glad I shot him down. Hi, Nevin. Love you, Claire. Yes, deceased ETs. I talked about this during the podcast yesterday. This was one of Terry's cases, for the record. You can actually, I forget what case number it was, but if you go back into Terry's cases, if you go to Dr. Terrence Palmer on YouTube, go to his YouTube videos and look through the case studies. They're about halfway through his YouTube videos. You'll find some of these case studies that I've been talking about. And this was one of Terry Palmer's case studies where, like I said, this woman was completely gone. There was no sanity left in this woman. She was gone. And when she had the clearing, they found, like I said, 20 deceased ETs attached to her. And when they asked, like, what were you guys doing here? They were on a reconnaissance mission thousands of years ago, and they died. I think they drowned in their ship. Their ship crashed, and then they drowned. And then sure enough, they were here. They were stuck on Earth. And this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about yesterday with Gosha, because they said that you can teleport yourself back to your home planet. That because the Van Allen belt, they keep talking about the Van Allen belt. And they were talking about how it can actually stop people from going across. And then they're trying to say that it only stops living people, not deceased people. So souls can come and go as they please. So that's why I asked yesterday if that is actually true and souls can come and go from Earth as they pleased. Then why did these 20 ETs wait thousands of years for one of their own to open a portal back to their own homeworld? Because that's what they did. When Terry was asking these ETs, like, why are you still here? They're like, we don't want to get stuck in the reincarnation here on Earth. We don't want to be in there stuck in your karmic cycle. No, hell no. So they would rather wait as earthbounds for them to be rescued. This is a crazy case. You guys should check it out. Like I said, you should be watching Terry Palmer's case studies. They're wild. They really are. So she asked, like, I should say the medium was talking with Terry, and Terry was asking questions like, why didn't they just go home? Why couldn't they just teleport their consciousness back to their home planet? Because they knew they were stuck here. And that's why Gosha's like, well, you don't get stuck. And I'm like, well, then why are they here? Why wouldn't they just leave? Why would they sit here for thousands of years waiting to be rescued, even as ghosts? And sure enough, that's what happened. Terry was talking. He said the medium watched. They said, yeah, they're opening a portal to his homeworld right now. One of their people just came through it. So then they all left together, and the woman was sane. All of her mental health shit went away. So this is what I mean. Like, so many people, yeah, there are some people with mental health issues that are caused by trauma and abuse and all kinds of stuff. But unfortunately, most of these cases, especially the really tough ones where people are completely lost it, that's not a normal trauma response. In most cases, that's some kind of an attachment. that's making things far worse. Just reading through your comment. I booked an appointment with Andy for a remote clearing session for me, my husband, and kiddos. Prime reason being my hubby has a reoccurring drinking problem. It's not until February. Any advice on what to do until then? Spiritual hygiene is a really big thing. And a lot of people don't even know that they need to protect their energy. I imagine that your hubby probably isn't an awakened individual, so it'd probably be hard to talk to him about salt baths and stuff, wearing organite crystals, that kind of thing for protection. One of the best things you can do is just protect yourself by going through the house and clearing the negative energy that's in the house. If you can't do it with sage, I recommend using essential oils. You can use Palo Santo oil or frankincense and myrrh. That's a good one. Oh, he is awake. Wonderful. That's even better. Because if that's the case, he needs to take salt baths. He needs to be mindful of his thoughts. And I realized that you can't just quit drinking one day. I watched, I had a friend who was an alcoholic for 5 years, drank every single day, and she quit cold turkey, and she almost killed herself. Like, your body, unfortunately, will start to attack you if you don't stop drinking. Because your body starts producing the enzymes to break down the alcohol. And if you're not drinking the alcohol, you can make yourself really sick. So alcohol is one of those things that you kind of have to wean yourself off of, just as you would a normal prescription. So I really think the most important thing, though, is just keeping up the high vibes in the house. So I would keep up the positive stuff. Don't watch anything negative, no news, no horror, nothing like that in the house, because those will end up opening portals and bringing more stuff in. So the more high vibe music you can play, anything that's upbeat and makes you feel really happy. But like I said, yeah, sandalwood is also a good one. Essential oils are really big, and I recommend getting some kind of a diffuser for it. So that way, anytime you're getting some bad energy in the house, you just turn on the diffuser and you can start pumping some frankincense and myrrh into the room, and they feel sick. They leave. They can't stand the smell of it. They get really sick, actually, having some of these essential oils around, which is why they run off. But sea salt is a really big one. Sea salt you should be using in the shower. You should be putting it in the bath. You should be putting it in little dishes around the house. Have you guys ever seen how, like, in the movies where they throw salt over the left shoulder? That's why. If you've ever seen people make a salt, if you ever watched, oh my God, Supernatural, they make salt circles around stuff. That is real magic. So I realize how much Hollywood has actually downplayed all of these things and made it sound like we don't, you know what I mean? They're just making up shit, but there is real truth to this. People have been using salt for protection for thousands of years. So it may seem superstitious. Like, that's what they try and make it feel like. It's like, oh, it's just superstitious. Little do you know, if you have a fucking attachment on your back, throwing salt on your back, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to release the attachment, or at least if it's a level 1, it will. So that's totally supernatural. It is totally full of truth. It really is, Steph. You're right. How do you feel about things like Dr. Teal's? I think they are a ripoff. You can buy, for example, right? They use Epsom salts for farming. You can go to a farming depot, whatever store, and buy a giant bag of Epsom salts, like bigger than you, for like $70. One of those little bags, which is probably about like 20 of those big bags, is going to cost you that much too. So I should say it costs you about a third of that anyway. So I just make my own. I have a big bucket thing of essential oils, or not essential oils. I have of Epsom salts, and I mix it with sea salt, because Epsom salt is not a true salt, for the record. So I put 50% Epsom salt, 50% sea salt in this little tub, and then I add essential oils to it, like lavender and cedar and stuff like that, to make it not only smell good, but those are actually very cleansing. Lavender and cedar are just as cleansing as sage. So how to perform a salt bath? I recommend just filling it up with nice warm water, making sure you have at least a cup or two of salt in there, and remember to mix it. I recommend getting sea salt is the best, but like I said, Epsom salt doesn't work on its own. You need to have both. because it's magnesium salt. It's not the same thing. I've only heard tea tree being dangerous for pets. Yeah, tea tree is not good for pets or pregnant women. Yep. Himalayan salt should work too, but sea salt really is the most powerful thing you can get. So keep your Himalayan salt in the kitchen and keep your sea salt and wherever you do your cleansing and protection. We should have a little tub of it, to be honest. Like everybody should fill a little container of sea salt and have it under your beds and stuff. Because that's the time we are ironically the most susceptible, really, I'm starting to think, is that while we're sleeping. I recently bought a half gallon with Epsom salt for $25. Has eucalyptus oil in it. Nice. See, there you go. But remember to add sea salt to your Epsom salt. Epsom salt's really good for the muscles and helping to raise vibration and feel relaxed. But the sea salts are very important for cleansing. So you can get, well, I don't know. This is why I would get the organic ones, Bailey. And to be honest, all should be diluted anyway. You should not be putting any mineral, you know what I mean? Any form of these essential oils directly on your skin because they are so strong. You need to dilute them with like a lotion or something or water. So we have the Tiamat Wars to thank for sea salt. Oh, Steph. When you put it that way. I'm going to be thinking about that today now that you put that in my head. So thank Tiamat if you've got for our sea salt protection. It's a very funny observation, Steph. I have a spray with sea salt. I spray it on my body, kids, doors. I have one too. I made this. Where is it? Where's my spray? Where'd it go? They hid it on. Oh, here it is. I have a drawer full of metaphysical goodies here. I made this myself. So I took sage and I boiled it in water. And then I left it in the windowsill with the head of a rose. I had some roses in my house and I popped off the rose head and I put it in the water too. And I let it sit in the windowsill for about 48 hours. And then I added a couple drops of Palo Santo oil, a little bit of aloe from a plant that broke because one of my aloe plants broke. So I was like, yeah, I'll throw some aloe in there too. And some sea salt. And now I just... And you can quite literally feel it raise a vibration immediately. I actually brought it with me to Scotland. And it was funny, if you guys remember when I told you I had 3 pop tires within 2 miles. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God. 3, it's not, you know what I mean? I was thinking like, what the hell is going on? This is so weird. And I was really stressing myself out because it's not normal. I haven't had a pop tire in 10 years. So for me to get 3 within 2 miles, it was very strange. So I went digging through my suitcase and I busted out this thing and I sprayed myself head to toe with it and I felt so much better. I really did. This really did work. So I don't know if I was dealing with a psychic attack then, but man, that was a stressful day. I felt better immediately. So make your own oils and I should say make your own special sprays. We brought this with us to Vegas because you can't burn incense or any form of cleansing stuff in the hotel. So that's why we brought this. And it worked. Just sprayed the shit out of it. So, getting distracted now. Man, we're really struggling with this one case. It's very frustrating. It's this case is a level 3. It's killing me. I really do feel like this is just the beginning. We have so much more to learn. But there are certain cases that we've been dealing with that are, I mean, just insane is the only way that I can explain it. The things that these ETs are getting away with is so shocking. And it's hard. It really is. But, you know, with this one particular case, we're going to enlist some more help. So I feel like we're going to get somewhere with it. And it's like a test that we're going through, you know, that they're like training us for handling even more tough cases. So that's why they gave us this one particular case. And I know we're gonna get through it, but at the same time, it's so disheartening, especially when it's a child that is dealing with these afflictions. Man. I'm so glad that I'm doing this work. I really am. I don't think there's anything more important than this kind of work, to be honest. No offense to anybody that thinks they have something that's more important than this, but in my opinion, I can't think of anything that is a higher priority than sorting all this shit out, you know? Because they really are. They're messing up the whole damn planet. Are the individuals in the case aware that you're working? Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. They are well aware. And it's somebody that's part of our team, kind of, in a way, that's dealing with this. And this is why I said, I told them, I said, if this was Aiden, I would be hoping for the same thing, that we would come together to work on it as a team. So that's why we will not back down. We are going to win this case. We're going to, sort it out eventually at some point, and we're not backing down at all. But it's basically a tug of war match with us on one side and the ETs on another and the kid in the middle. And it's so fucked up. It really is. And I realize the children are not, they're not 100% like new to this world, that they are bringing in stuff from the past. But I don't think it makes a difference. I still is just as fucked up, They can say things like, oh, you don't know what that kid did in a past life. I don't fucking care. I really don't care what he did in a past life. We're sorting this shit out. What were level 3s again? Level 3s are ETs. Gosha did make a really good point, though, yesterday when she was talking about how they're just going to brush it off as criminals down here. You know what I mean? They're like, well, they're just breaking the rules too. Just because they're breaking the rules doesn't mean you get to break the rules. Gosha was really, really good at playing devil's advocate yesterday. I was one of the best. This is why I'm pissed off they ruined the conversation, because it genuinely was one of the best conversations I've had in a very, very long time. I love it when people make me think. I do. I actually like being corrected, just for the record. When somebody corrects me, I'm like, oh shit, I got to learn something new. Fantastic. I swear to God, that's my attitude with everything. So yesterday, I'm so grateful that I learned so much from her. She did give me some really great, helpful new insight onto the situation that we're in. Even though she doesn't fully understand the situation, she really gave me some stuff to think about, and I absolutely love it. I really do. She gave me a lot of food for thought. And she's right about all of it. When it comes to them justifying us being attacked by ETs as rogue ETs just doing their own thing, of course it is. You know what I mean? Like, duh. But how do we even know that they're not, you know what I mean, like the naughty members of the Federation? If they aren't really keeping an eye on things, how do we know that it's a criminal that's breaking the rules? How do they even know if they're not watching? So it is also kind of like a cop-out in a way, being like, well, the ones that are breaking the rules are bad. Well, yeah, well, that's why I said, like, I really love her insight. It was so helpful. And no, I did not go out at all yesterday, Claire. I stayed in the house the whole day yesterday. After the podcast, I felt so unwell and weird that I didn't want to go out. I actually I canceled plans yesterday because I felt so weird. So no, I didn't leave the house at all yesterday. That's how I know it came through the podcast. And also because, like I said, I felt different. Like, it was weird. Halfway through the podcast, I just started feeling, I wouldn't even say annoyed. I was more feeling just anxious. Like, I had that feeling of stress and my adrenaline started pumping. And I figured I was just being passionate. That's what I made the assumption. I kept telling myself to calm down too. I'm like, calm down. It's good that you're passionate, but you need to calm down. And I couldn't calm down. And that's why, because I had a fucking attachment. No, just it's for those of you who didn't. So I'm noticing that some people came into the conversation late. I got an attachment from the podcast yesterday. A level 2, which is a demon, came through the podcast yesterday. And I don't know, it could have been when I was talking about Skinwalker. It could have been, because I was already feeling weird around then, though. In fact, I may even do something I never do, and I may rewatch my podcast. I don't like watching my own podcast again, because I start breaking myself down. I'm like, oh, you could have done this differently, or you could have said this differently, or oh, you should have added that to that. I start, you know what I mean, being hypercritical on myself. So I don't usually watch the podcast. So I am going to actually rewatch it and see if I can figure out where the attachment came in. I haven't spoken with her today. I'm going to message her after the podcast and give her a heads up. Hopefully she doesn't think I'm batshit crazy by telling her, by the way, I caught a demon during our talk yesterday. But really, I mean, like I said, she's a very high profile person, and they don't like what she's talking about. So she really does need to get her protection up as well, which is why I'm going to message her. Claire cleared it for me this morning. I messaged her last night before I went to bed because I knew I had an attachment. I fucking knew it, but I thought it was an earthbound. I thought I caught an earthbound from somewhere. Sounds good, Claire. Love you. Message you when I'm off, and we can make a plan. Yeah, I could feel that Gosha was also getting uncomfortable towards the end of the chat. But this is what I mean. Like, that's why I need to talk to her and just let her know why I started getting emotional towards the end of the podcast. Because as you guys know, I don't usually get emotional. But I started to get really, you know, while I was talking. And now I realize why I did, you know, like I felt it immediately and I brushed it off. It was that stupid second voice. My first voice immediately knew. How do you know if it was a demon? That was the soul guide. That was the soul guides that told the medium what it was. Because when we tap in through SRT, I'm just responding to Marvin. Marvin's on YouTube. Whenever we do a clearing on somebody, the medium connects to the soul guides, and the soul guides do the check. So the soul guides will check your whole etheric field and see what's there that's not you, that doesn't belong there. And then the medium reports what the soul guides are seeing. So it was the medium that told me what I had. Yeah, you should have felt the difference between Earthbound and Type 2. Well, that's the thing. The Earthbound was attached to me for 3 days because I thought I was just going through one of those, you know how we have days where we feel really great and other days where we're just kind of like, you know, I consider it to be like the low end of the wave. You know what I mean? So that's why it took me 3 days to notice that I had the Earthbound attached to me, because I just felt like I was in a funk. It was a completely different feeling. I didn't have the heart palpitations. I didn't have the stress. I didn't have the anxiety when I heard the Earthbound. I only felt depressed with the Earthbound. I felt lethargic. I felt very drained. Whereas yesterday, I actually felt supercharged. Like I didn't feel drained at all with the level 2. In fact, I felt jittery. I was telling people in the group yesterday, I felt like I drank 10 cups of coffee, and I don't drink caffeine. Claire is sharing too much information. Yes, my tummy was also upset. Thank you very much. Yes. This is what I mean. It started to mimic a cold. I had really bad chills too. I went and started a fire in the fireplace last night because I could not get warm with electric heat. I had to actually stand in front of a fire to get warm. So and my throat started hurting too. So that's why I thought it might have been a cold. But yeah, it's very different to what an Earthbound felt like. Yeah, definitely. Every entity can have different effects. That's true. That's very true, Steph. So yeah, that's why I canceled all my stuff last night. I felt like heart racing. Yeah, exactly. Ice cold. Like I said, I could not get warm. Ice cold. That wasn't a case for the Earthbound. Like I said, I just felt depressed with the Earthbound. Depressed and tired is the only way I felt with the Earthbound. So that's why I didn't notice. I thought I was just getting burned out. You know what I mean? How you get after like working really hard for a couple weeks and you just feel really drained and exhausted and fed up. That's how I felt with the Earthbound. But this, like I said, was entirely different. So I can see that they're training me. I could tell this was part of my training process. And this is what they validated too this morning, because if they had protected me from the attachment, I wouldn't have had the experience of knowing what it felt like to have it. So I just wish they had done it at a more convenient time so I didn't end up going on unnecessary rants for no fucking reason about things that I told myself I wasn't going to talk about. Grr. The basilisk created stomach upset in me and my dog, and it was just in my yard. Wow. Wow. It reminds me of the mantis people. The mantises that were affecting that one guy, they were like 50 yards away. They weren't even close. That's the thing. Like, they don't even have to be near us in order to affect us. They just have to kind of be tuned into our energy. But this is also why when I asked my soul guides last night, because I called in Chen last night, I was like, Chen, I do not feel right. Somebody send me. So I actually tried to do a clearing on myself last night, and it didn't work. And I was like, what the hell? But Claire answered that question for me. Thank you, Claire. Where I was like, if I had cleared it myself, I wouldn't have had the validation that I had an attachment in the first place. So they left it on me until Claire could clear it, just so she could tell me what it was. So I get it. I appreciate you guys talking to my soul guides, even though they let me get attacked by a beastie. I see it was for good reason. Reminds me of Andy, you know what I mean? Going into that old folk home and coming out with an attachment. I didn't check my eyes last night, though. Maybe I should have. I know what they say. When your eyes go black, that's a sign. And Andy didn't even notice, too. His eyes went black, and that's the only telltale sign they had. He felt fine. He didn't even notice he had an attachment. So they can be very sneaky. I'm not mad at my bouncer, no. There's a reason for everything. But I did give them shit this morning. I was like, what the hell? You know? Yeah, so we could learn to recognize them. Yep, exactly. Sarah says, my eyes are always black. I'm screwed. Oh, that's funny. I've been really good at stopping myself, but I'll be sure to keep sharing with the collective. That's good, Michelle. Do you think if you watch the replay from yesterday with Gosha that you'll get another attachment? I have no idea. I actually had that thought a few minutes ago when I said that I was going to. I didn't even say it, but you caught my thought, Marla, without me even saying it. I thought that to myself a minute ago when I said I was going to rewatch it to try and see if I could figure out when it attached to me. That's a good point. I'll make sure I'm well shielded and protected when I rewatch it. But that's the thing. Who knows? We're all learning as we go. None of us knew any of this shit, really. Well, I should say some of you may have, but most of us didn't know any of this shit even 6 months ago. So imagine what we'll know 2 years from now. We're all going to be a bunch of badasses. And by the way, I don't know if Claire is still here, but Claire and I were talking about doing a class on self-clearing. So that way, because I don't know about you guys, I don't feel like, as much as I love Claire and everybody else that we're working with, I don't want to message her every day that I don't feel right for the rest of my life, if you know what I mean. I feel like clearings are going to end up being our own responsibility at some point. So we have to learn how to do self-clearings. But at the same time, like I said, I tried to do a self-clearing last night and it didn't work. So clearly I need to learn some stuff. Because, yeah, we are really going to have to just make sure that while you're watching it, you burn some sage and some Palo Santo, you observe how you feel, and you use protection while you watch it, just to be on the safe side. Because we don't know where it came from or how it got in. And this is the thing. If we know that Siddhartha talks, like if you're doing a healing talk with Siddhartha and then you end up rewatching it later, the healing works just as well later on as it does when you're live. Because time doesn't exist, technically. So whenever you're doing something with the guides and they know you're doing something with the guides, whether even if it's just watching a video the next day or recording, they will continue to know that you're doing that. So if the good side can do it, I imagine the naughties can too, which is how they get us through movies that are already recorded too. So just be aware of that if you're, you know what I mean? If you don't feel right after the podcast, this is why I feel like I shouldn't even be having this conversation because I'm really trying not to scare people. I don't want to make anybody nervous. But at the same time, like, I also want you guys to be vigilant. and be aware of what the possibilities are. So you set intentions, you are protected. That's what I did, though. I set my intention yesterday. I said shield up, damn it. And they still got me anyway. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to do the whole shebang now. Got to go through the grounding and then the pyramid and then the wetsuit and then the invisibility cloak. So, my shield is lazy, Angeline says. Do you hear that, bouncer? Tell that to my bouncer. He needs to get on it. No more tests this week. Thank you very much. Shield up needs to be supported. No laziness. Well, then why did they tell me I could just say shield up? Was I misinformed, or do I need to be more of a badass before that will actually work? Maybe I need to practice more. Yeah, maybe I need to revisit my shield up ritual. That's true. I'm not worrying. I'm trying to be good now. Like I said, I was worrying yesterday. I was convinced that I fucked up majorly yesterday, but I woke up this morning feeling great. Now I'm thinking what I usually think. I did the best I could. So I am back in my own energy now. I can feel it. So yeah, like I said, they're gonna try and fuck with us as much as they possibly can. They are trying to throw a monkey wrench in our plans. So like I said, we have to be very vigilant and pay attention, especially to how we feel. If you don't feel right, know something is up. And for the record, doing self-clearings, if it's a low-level thing like an Earthbound, sometimes just telling them to leave, saying, I know you are here. You are not welcome to be here. I command for you to leave. You can also call in your own soul guides and say, soul guides, I need your help. You can call in Chen. You can take a salt bath. You can do a sound bath. You could do healing through tuning forks and dowsing rod. Oh, not dowsing rod. I'm thinking singing bowls. You can smudge your space. I'm trying to think what else. There's a whole lot of wonderful things you can do for self-clearing. It was all part of the plan. Very positive outcome. Exactly. Thank you, Claire. I just wish they had gotten me during a different podcast. I did not want to make an ass of myself at the end of that podcast, that's for sure. But I don't even care. I'm just, like I said, I'm over it. I'm just like, whatever. Whatever's meant to happen will happen. But I am going to have to message Goshen now and be like, sorry about yesterday. Can we call in Chen as well? Yes, you can. That's what Chen said. Chen said that anytime you set, because this is the thing. This is what we don't understand. Humans are portals. And anything that we set our intention to, that we call to us, really does call to us. So that's why, and I will never forget sitting in class with Jono, and like I said, I've told this story before. We were talking about Jimmy Savile and whether or not he had attachments. We're thinking, okay, was he truly just a bad man, or was he a bad man plus attachments? And we were having this conversation, trying to really understand, why dark people are the way they are. And Jono comes in and he's like, I don't really want to feel like calling in the energy of Jimmy Savile right now. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. You can call in the energy of anything and anyone. So this is the thing that we have to be aware of, so that way we don't call in things that we don't want. So you can call in anything. If you really want to, this is one of the reasons I got this guy. This is Shiva. Shiva is now sitting next to me when I do my clearings. I call in Shiva for protection now. So it's not just Chen that I'm calling in for protection when I do clearings. I actually call in Shiva. And the reason I'm doing that is because I had a chat with Siddhartha. I should say it was actually with Angelica. And Angelica was telling me that she went into a place. There was a house with a woman that had a demonic attachment. And she watched Shiva appear and literally pull it out of the woman. So Shiva is doing spirit release too nowadays. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm getting a Shiva statue. So now I actually am calling in more than just Chen when I do these clearings. So maybe I should be calling in more for protection too. But just be aware that you can call in the energy of anything. As long as somebody believes in somebody, it doesn't even matter if it was a real person to begin with. Like, I'm trying to think of somebody that wasn't real, but most of them probably were. So my point is that even if somebody, like, for example, if somebody doesn't believe in Zeus, okay, it's just a random thought off the top of my head. If somebody doesn't believe, if there are people that believe in Zeus, he exists somewhere. Just because he's a thought form that he's been scanned. Hold on. Oh, you little shit. I got him. Thank you. Every time. There we go. Sorry. I got him. Oh, nope, no, I didn't. I'm highlighting his comment. Little shit. Okay, yeah, he is blocked. Good. It was just taking a minute to block the little stinker. Remember, Andy said Chen let it happen to teach Andy a lesson about not being diligent with his protection. Yeah, I just got the same lesson. But like I said, I think I was getting lazy, just saying shield up, assuming that that was going to protect me. And clearly they're like, yeah, don't be lazy, Laura, is what they're doing with that. Archangel Michael is a great one to call. Yes, absolutely. Yes, you can call in Archangel Michael. He will appear. He's appeared for Dr. Terrence Palmer a few times during tough cases. We call in the big guns when we need them. Exactly, Lynn. If Georgie on YouTube says, if you put humanity in an unconscious state, there is no other outcome that you can expect. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I mean. Like, if they hadn't implemented this artificial 3D matrix, we wouldn't have been in this situation. We would have been able to see these things this whole time, and we would have hunted them down and made sure that they were extremely rare. Because if you think about it, we were asked this about other planets, you know, like Era and Temur, which are the two main Pleiadian, Tagetan planets. If they have things like demons and earthbounds walking around, they don't. They do not. Why? Because people can see them and they deal with them when they see them. But here, most people can't see them, so they just kind of get free reign to do whatever the hell they want on this planet. The thing is, souls on Earth as a whole are that good that they're a tiny little less than expected. It's going to get lighter and lighter as I think this is why the things are getting worse before they get better. It's kind of like it's always darkest before dawn, as they say. I feel like with the shift coming, I think that's why they're acting the way they are, where they're almost desperate to get attached to people. I'm not sure why that is. It's maybe because they're drained energetically and they're desperate for food. It could also be that they're panicking because they don't want us to raise in vibration, so they're doing everything they possibly can to keep the frequency low. That would be my guess, is they're just desperate to keep the frequencies low. Because the more portals they open, the lower the frequency stays. The more attachments they get to people, the lower the energy stays. The more earthbounds they have because they convince people to do horrible things, the lower the energy stays. So that's why they're convincing so many people for self-harm right now, and it's why so many things are getting chaotic in the whole system, I should say, you know. The whole cabal system, things are getting crazier and crazier by the day. Every morning when I wake up and see chemtrails in the sky, I just laugh. Now I laugh at how desperate they are to keep our energy low. Yep. I know exactly what you mean, Derek. Because I used to get pissed off every time I saw those chemtrails too. I'd be like, you fuckers. Every time I see them, you know. But yeah, I'm actually, now that you mention it, I do kind of just scoff and laugh at them now. It's funny. I didn't even notice I was doing that. You're right. I used to totally get upset, but now you just laugh and don't even, that's what we should do, is just laugh at all the politicians and their drama. Yep, lots of polarity. The magnitude of light are showing the nooks and crannies. Yep. The light is shining into the darkness, and the darkness doesn't like it. But that raises a question. Why do we need to protect ourselves in the first place? Didn't we come to Earth to have a human experience? But it looks like we need to live human life and take care of astral shit too. Well, like I said, this planet is not a normal planet. A lot of the things that we are dealing with here are not something that's being dealt with on another planet. It's this artificial 3D matrix that really has caused a huge number of these problems. Because, like I said, the reason we have to protect ourselves is because many of us are not in good health as it is. You naturally have a form of protection around you. That's what your etheric field is. Your etheric field, if it's completely intact, not perforated, it will protect you from astral parasites. It'll protect you from entities, earthbounds, cords, all kinds of stuff. But the reason why we don't have a healthy etheric field is because almost everything around us in society ends up breaking down that etheric field. Bad food, all the shit they're putting in the water, all the shit they're putting in our food, even shit that they're spraying in the air. It's like all of these chemicals and heavy metals and shit that we have in our body that isn't even related to our thoughts and our frequency, because our thoughts and frequency are an entirely different story, because those also can deplete your auric field. If you're thinking bad thoughts, if you're constantly living in fear and paranoia, or if you are allowing yourself to kind of be mistreated by other people and not setting boundaries, just not setting boundaries can end up causing issues to your etheric field. Also going through trauma. One person, for example, lost a spouse, and because of that, they had a massive gaping hole in their etheric field right where their heart is. So if you think about it, it's kind of like the ozone layer around Earth. The ozone layer is essentially kind of like the etheric layer of the Earth. And when you start bringing in all this shit that ends up depleting the ozone layer, all of these heavy energies can come through. Same thing with your etheric field. So the reason we protect ourselves is to boost our etheric and to make sure that there's no perforations. Because like I said, in the past, every single person that we check with spirit release therapy has something. Almost every single person has either parasites or cords. I've never done anybody that doesn't have parasites or cords. Never found a case that is completely clear. Even my little guy, we did a clearing on him. He had 5 cords. He didn't have any astral parasites. He had darkness up in his nasal cavity, which is interesting considering he has no form of smell. He lost his smell 3 years ago with COVID and never got it back. So my kid still can't smell because of it. And that's what they found. They cleared dark energy around his nasal passage. So, but that was like weeks ago. You'd think that his smell would have come back by now if that was the only thing stopping it. It really is important to make sure that we are not only minding our thoughts, but minding what we're putting in our bodies too. And it's not even just putting in your bodies. One of the things, for example, I didn't realize, I had really bad heavy metals. I really desperately need a heavy metal detox. This is one of the things I'm working on. And I didn't realize that even my nail polish, I had to get new nail polish, all of it, because I was using old stuff that still had what they call the dirty 7 in it. And there's all kinds of shit that even just nail polish can end up putting heavy metals in your body. Having mercury fillings in your teeth will put heavy metals in your body. Because every time you're eating something or even just grinding your teeth, you're grinding little pieces of that metal into your body. So I hate to say it, but we need protection because we aren't protecting our bodies as much as we used to. I am not taking SRT clients as of yet because I still need to get my website up and running, and I need to get my what do you call it? My certification. I finished writing it. I haven't even sent it in because I don't want to overwhelm them. They're still working on many of the other certifications. What do you call it? The portfolios that we had to submit. So even though I've had mine done, I haven't sent mine in because there are other people who are even more desperate to have theirs done before me. So I have been very patient with it, considering Jono and Andy have had so much difficult stuff going on. It's unbelievable. So I have been doing emergency clearings, but I'm trying not to do those because, like I said, Claire and I have already worked for, dropped my lucky coin. Claire and I have already worked for several hours. Like, I mean, we've done so many clearings already, just for emergencies, people that desperately needed them. And like I said, we got to stop doing that because, like I said, Claire's been working for free for way too long. So yeah, we are. It's probably about a week. maybe 10 days until I get my certification. But like I said, I'm going to have to redo my website and everything too. And Christopher is helping me with that. Christopher is amazing. Daniela's husband. He is a godsend in every form of the word. Well, Andy and Jono are on the front lines. They are the front line. Andy and Jono are the front line. So yeah, 100% true there. Is there a kind of nail polish that doesn't affect you? Yeah, I got one. Hold on. I did my research because somebody told me, like, this is the one I used to use. Revlon. Apparently, it's one of the worst ones that you could use because they've got so many bad heavy metals and shit in it, and aluminum and formaldehyde and all kinds of stuff. So for those of you who remember me talking about this in the past, I used to have a really, really bad nail biting habit, which I found out is related to a past life. I had all my fingernails and teeth ripped out in a past life. I won't go into it, but it was because I was pissing off the cabal a little bit too much in the 60s, and I got black bagged and thrown into a car and tortured by a bunch of assholes, and they killed me. They ripped out all my teeth and fingernails, and that's why I woke up in this new body biting the shit out of my nails ever since I was born. That was a thing. That was my worst nervous habit, was biting my nails, and the only thing I could do to stop was to paint them. So I've been realizing now I've been painting me myself with poison for the last 3 years since I stopped. So this is the new one that I've been using. It's called ILNP, and there's no bad stuff in it. All the dirty stuff has been removed. So they say anyway. They said there's no dirty sevens in here. None of the things that are in all the other shit that they're warning people about are in it. So ILNP, if you guys want to continue painting your nails and making them look pretty. But even nail polish, like I said, you think that something, it's not even going into your body, but even your nails have pores. So yeah, it is going into your body. You bite your nails too, Marla. See, that's why you just gotta make them pretty, and maybe it'll help you stop. If they're pretty, I won't bite them. But even now, like it comes back and I don't realize it. And I also noticed too, if I was drinking alcohol in the past, it would get worse. Like I would have to bite my nails. I could do so good for weeks and I wouldn't bite them. And then I'll have a drink and I'd bite them all off. And I don't understand why. It was a trauma response from the past. Like I said, it wasn't until I met somebody else who was also tortured and had her nails removed in her past life. Because she went to a QHHT session where she also was tortured as a man. And they ripped out all his fingernails. And she came back into this life with biting her nails really badly too. And that's when I realized, holy shit, okay. That can't be a coincidence that we both had our freaking, So, yeah, exactly. This is why I've had to revamp and try. This is why, there's always better alternatives out there. We just have to do our homework. And unfortunately, nobody's going to tell us this shit. Nobody's going to warn us. We have to figure it out for ourselves in most cases. But you know what's funny, Michelle? I asked my soul guides because as I told you guys yesterday about my first astral projection experience, I had this experience shortly after that, where I remember they were there. I was walking down the road and they just back bagged me, and they brought me into some underground area where they did all that horrible stuff to me. And then I woke up the next morning going, "What the hell was that?" And it wasn't until I took mushies that I got the answer, because I get good messages when I'm on mushies, whatever. So I asked them, why the hell did you subject me to that? And you know what they told me? They actually said, your fears are gone. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, all your phobias are gone, aren't they? And I thought about it and I'm like, actually, yeah. I had quite a lot of fears and phobias, and every single one of them are gone. And they told me that the reason they did that was to show me that no matter what my body experienced, no matter how badly they hurt me, I still came back whole in the next life. So it was actually like a fear removal exercise, I feel like, where they basically were like, she's got all these fears and phobias. Let's just torture her to death and show her that no matter what happens to her body. So I don't know if it was real or not, or if it was just a past life memory, or even one of those imprints where you can download memories from other people. I have no idea. But I do find it very interesting that, like I said, about my nails. That night was terrifying to me. I woke up screaming blue murder, feeling my teeth to make sure they were still there. That's how real it was. So who knows? It was definitely something, like I said, call it a fear exercise. They removed any fear. This is one of the reasons why I'm so fearless now. I went and did anti-poaching after that. I was like paranoid about everything. I was so afraid of everything. So I went and did the exact opposite. I became a polar opposite. So I wasn't afraid of anything. And then I became a bit of an adrenaline junkie after that. So it's funny how you can shift from being, in one complete mind state to another complete mind state. So I'm trying to be in the middle now, where I don't have fear, but I don't do dumb shit either. So, I've always had a phobia of water. I think I died in the floods. That is especially if it's dark water. Absolutely. Yep. That is a big one. And this is why aftercare is so important. And yes, we are still working on the hypnosis technique. We actually have a meeting about it either today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. We're going to be messaging the group about it. We already have a lot of it actually ready to go, thanks to Tara. So really, it's just going to be work exercises and communication with the soul guides to see if there's anything more that needs to be added. And then the new hypnosis technique is ready to go. Trust me when I say we know it's needed. There's a lot of people who are knocking on our door going, "Are you ready with that yet?" But for those of you who don't want to wait, like I said, Laura Whitworth's hypnosis technique is incredible. In fact, even though I'm developing my own, I still may end up taking Laura's class just because the more knowledge, the better. I don't feel like any one of us should only have one modality under our, you know what I mean? I feel like we should know multiple modalities because everything is different. Everything, you know what I mean? It's like when you learn one way and then somebody shows you a different way and you're like, oh, wow, both ways work. And then you can kind of switch back and forth between, which ones work best. So Laura Whitworth's technique, her SCHH technique is phenomenal. Laura Whitworth, for those of you who haven't seen my podcast with her yet, you can actually search it on YouTube. Thanks to me airing these things on YouTube, you can actually, that's also true. Yes, Michael and Candace all have, this is the thing, so many people are starting wonderful modalities. There's IQH, SCHH, that's what I was talking about with Laura, and BQH, which is Candace's. I believe Candace is going to be coming on one of my podcasts, by the way. Candace was one of Dolores' students. She was actually the first trained practitioner. So she's amazing. She started something called BQH. Laura will be teaching every Monday. Wonderful. That's fantastic. Yeah, Laura was talking about teaching mothers how to clear their children. So this is why I say, I don't think one teacher fits all. I feel like all of these wonderful teachers are coming together and we should be learning something from each one of them. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's a full modality, that's entirely up to you. I feel like, the people that have multiple modalities under their repertoire, are going to be the ones that are able to handle cases the best, because they have so much experience in training and training from people that think differently, that kind of approach the situation differently. So when are you taking Claire's mediumship class? I'm actually taking her mentorship class, which is different to the mediumship class. I believe that starts, when does that start? Actually, that's in my calendar. Let me see. Starts Sunday, the 7th. So it starts in a couple days, Claire's class. Claire's already saying, like, I'm not going to take it easy on you. And I was like, I wouldn't expect it any other way. So I'm very excited about it. There's also a great Candace interview with Laura Whitworth on Rumble. Oh, wonderful. That is actually my plan. I'm going to get Candace and Laura together for a podcast, the three of us. That's one of my goals. Because we all want to work together. We all love each other and we all love what we're doing. And even though we're all kind of doing the same thing, there's absolutely no competition between us. So it would be great if all of us, this is the plan eventually, is that we're all going to come together and start doing events together, start doing hypnosis seminars and, like big psychic events for people to come in and have lots of speakers and stuff. We're where people can come and learn all the different modalities too. Rather than just coming and listening to speakers, you can come and actually do like workshops and stuff. So that's our goal. We really just want to work together and help each other. And that's the attitude that we all need, really. You know, exactly, Lynn. No egos. We just want to help each other and be together and enjoy each other's company and work together. And you know, it's just, oh, that's why it's on Rumble. They talk about the you know what. Good to know. Thank you for that, guys. I didn't even know that was up there, so I'll be sure to look it up. What part of the country do you stay? I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm not from here originally, but my mom was here when I moved back to the States right before COVID hit. So that's where I've been ever since. So I'm going to get ready to wrap it up in a second. She knows it too. Daniela can sense that I was just about to wrap it up here. Where's your message, Daniela? There it is. So don't forget, 9:30 in the mornings on Divinate. For those of you who are watching on YouTube now, thanks to Gosha, we have a website where it's basically like a practitioner directory and a community. It's called Divinate, DIVN8.com. Be sure to check it out because we've got a lot of wonderful teachers on there that are, part of our community that are giving wonderful workshops and talks. So today, Friday, Erin's session 1 of 3, Song of Your Soul, is going to be at 12 to 1:30. So for those of you who've seen my podcast the other day with Erin Siniva, she's the wonderful singer that we had in that sings in light language. She's going to be doing the Song of Your Soul workshop today at 12, which is in 30 minutes from now. Perfect. Wonderful. And next Wednesday, Siddhartha is going to be coming back. So we're going to be having another event with Siddhartha in membership. Don't miss it, okay? For those of you who haven't signed up for Divinate membership yet, we really should. It's only $18 a month, and it's so cheap compared to how many people are charging like a fortune for their training. We get workshops every week. We've got wonderful teachers coming through, so it really is worth every penny. Especially considering if you go back through, for those of you who may not have heard me before, Siddhartha was doing a live clearing on there, a live clearing and healing that will still work even now. So if you go back into the previous videos, you can see the talk with Siddhartha and do the actual clearing. So for those of you who are waiting for a clearing because I'm not ready yet, you can actually go in and watch the clearing today. And trust me when I say it makes you feel amazing. So, yeah, it's divinate.com, DIVN8.com. We have 5 workshops next week. That's wonderful, Daniela. Fantastic. And remember, every day at 9:30, we have Kaya's. She's an amazing healer, and she's doing healings every morning at 9:30. They're healing activations. They're very powerful. And there's been quite a few people joining, so I'm very proud of you guys for making sure you're not missing out on the good shit, because I'm glad to see she's been getting several. She's getting like 30 people watching her videos in the morning, so that's wonderful. And you can also go back and watch replays too. Okay, so I love you guys. I am gonna go run off and do some adulting that I didn't do yesterday while I was under the weather. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. I am coming on tomorrow with Claire. Claire is going to be my guest tomorrow on the podcast. So we will be talking a bit more about this, and we're going to talk about Claire's classes and what she's got coming up, because she's got all kinds of wonderful things she's going to be doing soon. So I love you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Claire. Mwah! Bye, guys.